Hello, fellow bassists. George Mesa here with the Bass Player University. And I had sent a email out recently to everyone that's on my email list talking about simplicity and how it's actually difficult to be simple. Human beings aren't simple. So before we get into a whole different topic based on that statement alone, why don't I give you an idea of the musical example I want to present and just how much goes into something that's simple. Perhaps this isn't the direction you thought it was going, and that's a good thing, of course, because the world of music is always full of surprises, and I believe that as a teacher, I am full of surprises as well. As any student I've ever had, and I've had many hundreds of students, I think they will tell you the same exact thing, because I don't follow the same exact path for every student that I've ever had. And what I do at the Bass Player University is no different. So definitely do check out the website, join the email list, and check out all my other stuff. If this is the first time you're seeing it, welcome. And let's get into it. The musical example that I wrote out is this. Of course, I titled it Simple. Simple? Question mark. It starts very simply. And no matter how good or bad your reading is, this is one measure of music. So even if you're not great at reading sixteenths right off the bat, you can at least hear what's happening once I play it. And then you can make an adjustment or react to it. You can almost act to it. We have to be actors. I think this is worth mentioning, especially if you're in the kind of band that plays the same song over and over and over again. You're pretty much acting by the third or fourth time. You're pretending to truly, absolutely love every millisecond of that song that you didn't write. Cover band, let's say. So there is something to an act, just to make sure the energy is the right amount of energy for each crowd, that you play the same song over and over again, especially if you're not something like a jam band or doing a jazz gig where it is very free and improvised outside of the melody, outside of the main part. So do keep that in mind. So what do we have? Let's describe this as simply, no pun intended, as possible. Quarter note, 16th note rest, 3 more 16th notes, followed by 2 more 16th notes, a staccato 8th note, a dotted 8th note, and one final 16th right at the tail end of the measure. The beats we actually play here are 1. On beat 2, we play E and A. On beat 3, we get 3 E and then on beat 4, we get 4 A. So right away, there's something to notice. At the top, or right above the staff, at the very first quarter note there, on the letter A, we have a swung triplet. Not a swing feel like in jazz, where the 8th notes are producing the triplet feeling, something like it's not that kind of swing. This is more of a, what I like to call swunk. It's a swung funk kind of feel. And I think this allows this thing to sound a certain way. Maybe I'll hide my hands first now while it's showing on the screen here. Now, hopefully, as anyone that watches this enough knows, I like to leave in the little errors that come up here and there. I'm a human being, and so are you, by the way. I didn't play that 8th note in beat 3 as really staccato the first time, or the third time. I had to kind of watch and listen and read again as I was doing it, instead of just trying to play it from memory. It's just one measure, but there's already things to look for in a lot of different directions. You may have noticed again that I didn't play it with a very straight feeling. I provided an accent at the very last 16th note as well, which I didn't write on the paper, but it feels like it belongs. And that is one thing that we'll save for another video. is interpreting something, interpretation. This is how the greats always do it. And this is how things such as classical pieces, which are set in stone, written down, never to be changed. That's why there's 100 versions of a Bach cello piece or something along those lines, because the player grabs it, they can change at the very least tempo, some volume ideas, dynamics. In other words, feel, push and pull the beat. There's so many things you can do to interpret a piece of paper. And I just did it on the fly, even though I actually wrote this out myself for this episode. And we're already beyond simple, are we not? This is the point. This is not just a string of eighth notes here, obviously. That would be simple. Straight quarters would be the simplest. But even straight quarter notes require care and attention, and for you to treat them like they're the most important quarter notes that have ever existed in the history of all music, or life itself. So one time, quickly, I would like to play it for you straight sixteenths, not swunk, as I have indicated there. Here it is with straight 16th notes. Now here is the swunk again. Now perhaps we can quickly get rid of this, and maybe what we'll do is we'll quickly go to a different look and keep my hands on the screen. So here is, again, without swing. There, now the eighth is staccato. Now, one thing that I'm doing in this hand is that I am doing alternate plucking strictly, and I don't think that's the best choice for this. You'll notice I'm doing as many hand gestures as possible to keep my face not being here adequate for the presentation. So let's try to turn this into something even less simple. Let's first take away the very clean approach to plucking this. Let's try to put myself in this more. Here's probably closer to what I'd want to do if I wasn't even thinking about presenting this to somebody or trying to play it perfectly for, in like a teacher-student kind of way. You'll notice that my hand is actually closing up a bit. I think this presentation style allows me to really show you things that maybe my face being on the screen will take away from. So when I do this, I am actually trying to angle my fingernails in a way that's not perfectly straight like this. I'm doing more of this. Certain things will catch, certain things won't. It's a way for me to conserve energy. It's also, more importantly, a way for me to pluck much closer to the same exact spot every time, instead of plucking this far away from each plucking spot. Now I can pluck basically all right here at the 24th fret. Take a look at it again. So now let's do a little more where maybe there'll be a few X's on the page that I didn't intentionally write, but they might feel right. Okay. So now, what are we getting at here? Where exactly is this going, right? The point in me showing you this as a teacher is that this one measure, although it's not the simplest thing on paper, there's sixteenths, there's ideas to worry about, there's staccato, there's all this other stuff. That late 16th can be a very testy thing to drop the octave afterwards. Little things that you get used to when you play over and over again, of course. How you want to pluck it and things like that. But more importantly, this one measure of music can be analyzed over and over again in different ways. Forget about interpreting it differently between players. I think this is unique enough of a measure where 5 different people will play it 5 different ways, even though there is a very exact and specific way to play this. And then when the drummer hits, all bets are kind of off, and suddenly there's going to be even more nuance and things to change about it. Maybe where that drummer puts the bass drum changes how you accent it. Maybe that rest has something that you want to make it a deeper pocket, deeper rest if it's even possible. A different kind of staccato on that low G sharp. Then there's the left hand. I'm doing my very best to make sure, and perhaps I'll just quickly keep it up on the screen again. I'm doing my very best to make sure that I stay rigidly in 4th position. Except at the end when I went, I didn't quite stay in 4th, but I'm in 4th. This is the 4th fret. 4, 5, 6, 7 are the frets that I have available, and the notes are A, C sharp, F sharp, E, G sharp, E, A. If you didn't see every little tiny motion of what I just did, or overall in the previous times I played through it, that is part of the simplicity that I try to teach in the left hand. The less you do, the better, until you know what you need for it. Take a really good look at my left hand as I try to do even less motion than I had earlier. Doing my very best. That pointer, when I hit the high F sharp, look how small of a motion I'm making here. F sharp, E, G sharp. I'm barely moving. Right? You never know what's going to happen if you start feeling it out. But because of this, I'm free to do more here and worry about the actual feel of things rather than let the line itself, whether it feels complex or not to an advanced or a beginner player, this has much less to worry about because I'm not just using 2 fingers and making all kinds of weird angles and all kinds of... I'm very flexible, by the way, so don't mind if this looks kind of crazy. As a matter of fact, I can bend my fingers back a lot. Just look at that. More on that another time, I'd say. My flexibility has given me some things, advantages in life, I'd say. I've gotten out of quite a few breaks, and I can do all kinds of stuff that I think a lot of people can't. I don't do this to play, but my flexibility does give me some things. I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I have hyperflexibility in my skin. So, yes, it has come in handy. Sure, it has. I'm sure a lot of musicians have it, too, at some degree. It's the kind of thing where you see somebody playing and you say, "How? I don't even think my hands can do that." Not a speed thing, but more like the look of it. My hands have that. But how rigid was I? I wasn't using flexibility at all. One more time, left hand, watch it. Even that was exaggerated. Let's try less. Less in the pointer. I'm playing it over and over again to bring it home. So you can see that this, I put a question mark because you know what? This is not simple. This measure of music is not simple, as a matter of fact. It's very easy to mess it up. It's very easy to get it wrong. And let's just say this was the verse or the chorus, whatever, and you have to play it over and over again, this one measure, 8, 16 or more times. Let's just say that the chord doesn't change. This is the part over and over again. You have to do something to make it interesting as a cycle. If anyone is familiar with the original Mario Brothers game, the music in every level is just a few very, very short measures. But it's so engaging and interesting and rhythmically varied that on repeat, you don't even really notice that you're hearing 8 seconds of music. Here, you're hearing about 3 seconds of music, tops. I'm just hearing it in my head. So keep that in mind. And last but not least, if you're practicing something like this, feel free to grab a screenshot or email me. I'll send you the PDF. If you have it, and I'll do 96 like it's saying. A little faster than I was doing, I'd say. One of the most important things that you're looking for here is that you're playing on every beat except beat 2. So you're going to hear beat 2 all by itself. There's that staccato 8. I keep forgetting about it. So I was leaving a space on beat 2, and perhaps that was a bit fast to hear that. 1, 2, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2. Now the swing is more profound, right? The swung. So, goals. These are the goals. To approach everything with purpose, with confidence, and act. You're not good enough for it? I don't believe that, but maybe you can't play it immediately. Pretend like you can. Act like you can. You'll get there faster. Ask some questions. Ask yourself a question. Pretend to teach it. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher. We're all teachers. Everybody's a teacher. We're all musicians. We're all scientists. Everyone can indeed learn. Everyone is a teacher. We are naturally teachers. And if you watch any animal raising a child, the ones that do that, it is inherent in all of us to teach. So prove it to yourself. Pretend to teach it to somebody. Record yourself like this. Go for it. What could possibly go wrong, right? So main points here. Simple is very important. As a bass player, simplicity is very important. And sometimes that means repeating a slightly complex figure very confidently over and over again. The simple part is that it's the same thing over and over again, even if it's not simple. Matching tempo. When I put this click on 96, I immediately raised the tempo and I was ready for it right away. This is another thing you want to be able to train. Change the tempo on yourself. Cut the metronome in half. See if it works. So I hope this was interesting for you to talk about one measure of something that I wrote that's not even a song. It's just a measure of some bass line that I might try to work into something. It's actually not the worst thing, I'd say. So if you want a copy of this PDF, then hit me up at the comments here. Email me, call me, text me. I don't care. All my information's available on the show notes. Go to the website. Everything's there. Join my email list. Thank you very much, guys. And I'll see you next time.